that Christ is the one by whom, in whom, and for whom all things exist. Now, we may not get all excited about that kind of a statement, but to the Greek philosopher, this was dynamite stuff. Because in the history of Greek thought, this very word, logos, not only functioned as the simple everyday word for word, but it was a concept that was filled with philosophical baggage. Whereas in, for example, the philosophy of Heraclitus and later in the philosophy of Stoicism, the logos was seen as the superior power in the universe that ordered and regulated all things in the universe. The big question that the Greek philosophers were trying to answer was what we call the question of unity and diversity, or the question of the one and the many. We look out the window and we see birds, we see grass, we see telephone poles, we see automobiles, we see people, all this diverse manifestations of the world around us. And we look at that and we say, how does this make sense? Is the experience that we have of nature and life chaos that is a disjoined mass of meaningless, incoherent data bits? Or is there something that makes all of this intelligible? Carl Sagan, when he had his program on television and later his book, used as his title for that program the word cosmos. And at the very beginning of that, he makes the distinction between cosmos and chaos. And the whole point of cosmos in Greek thought is that the world ultimately is orderly. You can know it. It fits together. It makes sense. But there has to be some overarching principle or power that brings unity to the diversity, that makes the world in which we live a universe rather than a multiverse, so that it can be known. And in Greek philosophy, the concept of unity and order and harmony was called the logos. Now, it would be a serious mistake to go to the first chapter of John's Gospel and say that what John does here is just lift up the Greek concept of logos in their philosophy, bring it over and stick it into New Testament theology, and just bring it over without change. No. He fills it with Hebrew content from the personification of God that is found in the Old Testament, from the wisdom of God that is found in the Old Testament, and that sort of thing. But there are parallels, there are points of contact that the early apologists jumped all over. They said, you're interested in logos? So are we. And we're going to tell you that that which brings order and harmony to the whole created world, that which Plato contemplated in his metaphysical philosophy, the thing that Aristotle was trying to penetrate in his philosophical inquiry, was the mystery of the divine logos, who is the one who brings order, purpose, and harmony out of all things. One professor of apologetics points out that you could translate the first verse of John's Gospel like this: in the beginning was logic, and logic was with God, and the logic was God, and the logic became flesh and dwelt among us. Now, the difference, of course, between the logos of the New Testament and the logos of Greek philosophy is that this logic is not some impersonal force or power, may the force be with you stuff. But the thing that was a scandal to the Greeks, but was so profound to the thinkers of that time, was that the one who is the logic of all the universe is a person, an eternal person, a person with a mind, with a will, with a personal identity. And that is the contribution at that moment that very early primitive Christian apologetics made in the Greek world. And we'll